everyone, and welcome back to the Mindbody Medicine for Chronic Pain podcast. I'm your host, Sean Hershey, and here we are, season 5. This is year 2 of the podcast, and I am so glad that you are with me. I'm a therapist, and I specialize in helping people heal from chronic pain and heal from chronic symptoms using emotional and psychological modalities. Most people don't even know that's possible, but it is. Today, we have an awesome guest, Emily Larson, and we're having a super straightforward, to the point conversation about overcoming the common healing blocks. Emily gives us some incredibly helpful information. You are not going to want to miss this one, especially if you feel stuck in your healing. Easy take-home messages that are maybe not easy to apply, but they are very simple to apply, and I'm sure they will help you. Okay, before we dive into that, let me just say, if you are looking for a therapist, you know where to find me. SeanHershey.com or mindbodymedicineforchronicpain.com. Both will take you right there to my website, and you can very easily request a free consultation with me from there. I would be happy to hear from you. So if you're interested in that, by all means, please reach out. If you're enjoying the podcast, please rate the podcast or review the podcast. It is super easy. If you're on Apple Podcasts, you just scroll down. There's 5 stars right there. You just click right there. Super simple. And I'd really appreciate that. It'd be really nice to, get some feedback from you. And Spotify also, you can rate with stars on Spotify. I would be happy to get a review from you. So yes, without further ado, let's talk to Emily. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mindbody Medicine for Chronic Pain podcast. I am here today with Emily Larson. Welcome, Emily.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. It's a treat to have you. And so Emily is a coach in the world of neuroplasticity healing and chronic pain healing. And we are here to talk mainly about what are the main healing blocks that you see in people applying this approach, and what can people do to move past those blocks. But before, we will get to that. But before we do, Emily, why don't you take a minute to just introduce yourself and say hello to everybody?
Yeah. Hi, listeners. My name is Emily. I live in South Dakota, and I'm a mind body coach. I obviously went through my own experience with chronic pain and symptoms and recovered with the mind body approach. So, yeah, I can dive into my story, Sean, if you want me to.
Sure. Well, and let me. Weren't you born in Minnesota?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. Eden Prairie, Minnesota.
Yep. St. Paul, Minnesota.
Yep. Most of my life I've
Same
been in
metro.
South Dakota, but born in
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Love it. Love it. Eden Prairie, that would be like the other side, Minneapolis. Like that's like a western suburb of Minneapolis, right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So we're different, different edges of the city, but
Same area.
Same place. Yeah.
Yep.
But okay, yes. Why don't we get into why don't you tell us a little bit about your story?
Okay.
And then we will go from there.
Okay, sounds good. Well, my experience with chronic pain and symptoms started in 2020. It started with a specific symptom, which was toe swelling, redness. Sometimes they would turn completely purple, extremely painful to the touch, hard to walk, hard to wear socks and shoes. Obviously, was going from doctor to doctor trying to figure out what this was. Nobody could tell me. And so, because of that, I continuously was taking steroids, which sucked. But that's the only thing that kept it at bay. Every time I would stop the steroids, it would just come right back. So from there, basically everything just spiraled. All of the different pain areas kicked off. So from 2020 to 2024, I had all the following pain areas, symptoms, diagnoses, and those were cubital tunnel syndrome, golfer's elbow in both arms, small fiber neuropathy, nerve pains all over, TMJ disorder, burning mouth syndrome, inner knee pain and swelling, proximal hamstring tendinopathy, which was sit bone pain, plantar fasciitis in both feet, sciatica, piriformis syndrome, low back pain, hip pain, headaches, migraines, Raynaud's disease, which is something that I've actually had since I was a child, and chilblains, which is what they eventually labeled the toe symptoms. And that is basically just an extreme form of Raynaud's. So everything,
What a list.
yes.
What a list. Well, and actually, let's take a minute to drill down on the Raynaud's, 'cause that's I don't know much about that at all. So, and I don't just surely some listeners do and some don't, but
Yep.
tell us about that.
So basically, loss of circulation typically happens in the hands, fingers, sometimes toes, like it was happening for me.
Oh,
So basically, you just lose your
right.
circulation. And that's something that I've always had since I can remember. I remember in middle school sitting at a football game and it was cold out and my fingers were just pure white. And my friends would try to warm them up. And all this time it was TMS. So,
Wow.
yes.
Wow, that's wild.
Mhm.
Now, is that the kind of thing that, it flares the same way that a TMS symptom imperative would flare?
Yeah, I noticed as I got older, it wasn't specific to only the cold weather. I noticed it started happening when I was stressed. So, for example, when all of this was already going on, it really flared up when I was starting a new job. So,
Yeah,
anything related to stress. And I think all along it probably always was stress and it was never the
yeah.
cold weather because now I can go out in the cold weather with no issues. But
Awesome,
yeah, that's what doctors
awesome.
told me was cold weather.
Yeah, wow. Well, right, of course, because they don't,
Right.
know to take the psychological, underpinnings of these symptoms seriously.
Right.
But let me ask you this as well. I just actually learned this recently, the difference between tennis elbow and golfer's elbow.
Yeah.
Do you know the difference between the 2?
If I remember right, that was one of my first symptoms. One is on I mean, they're on opposite sides of the elbow, right?
I think
Yeah.
so, yeah. I had never heard of I had just heard of tennis
Yeah, and I'm
elbow,
not a
but
golfer,
yeah.
so
I'm like, for those of you listening at home, either side of the elbow, whether it's
Yes.
tennis or golfers, that's TMS.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
anyway, okay, so you get all these symptoms, which is
Yeah.
really, I mean, what a list.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then what?
So basically, throughout all of this time, all these years, I was obviously still going to the doctor, trying to figure
Yeah,
out what is wrong with me and trying basically every treatment that I could get my hands on. Going to physical therapy for years, nonstop. Same with chiropractic care, taking supplements, taking medications like gabapentin, losartan, low dose naltrexone. I was even injecting myself in the stomach and the thigh with medications like methotrexate and Humira, and went to Mayo Clinic to try to get answers. I even moved
yeah,
across the country because I thought the cold weather, again, was contributing to everything that was going on with me, and I basically just tried to run away from my situation and the pain and tried to start a new life somewhere else, and end result of that was that everything just got worse, so that didn't work in my favor.
wow.
But, eventually I ended up seeing a physical therapist in Australia, and it's just through telehealth. And I saw him because I was thinking to myself that, okay, I keep trying all these therapists locally and nothing is helping. So let me just go to somebody who specializes in this specific injury TMS, but injury
Sure,
at that
right,
time that I
right.
thought I had. So I go to him, I work with him for about 6 months, and more pain areas just pile on as I work with him. And eventually he says to me, "I want you to read the book, Think Away Your Pain by Dr. David Schechter." So I read the
Hmm,
book, and the rest is history. I knew that all of these pain areas, these symptoms that I was experiencing, they were all TMS and that
mhm.
there was nothing else left for me to try anymore, so I just went all in with it because it was, like, my last resort.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, and say a little bit about, like, as you were reading Dr. Schechter's book, what was that like for you?
Yeah, every page, I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." Just, like, the personality traits to a T, just the fear around my body that I now had because of everything I've gone through, the attention that I was giving everything. Just yeah, absolutely me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So talk to us about your recovery. And here I mean, we can already get into what you see as the major blocks that people who are doing this work face.
Mhm.
Maybe you face some of those blocks, but through that lens, let's get into like what was the recovery like for you? What steps did you take? You know.
Yeah, so the first thing, again, I disconnected from all the structural things that I was doing. I just really started with educating myself about TMS just to really build my belief in it and understand it. I started watching success stories to build motivation and hope. And what I started with first was the emotional piece of it. So I did a little bit of journaling. I wrote a list of past traumas or past events that I felt were still affecting me to this day. And each one I would write about in depth. I wrote about what happened, how it made me feel, and then I would follow up each session with self compassion. So once I got through that list of things, I shifted to more of a journaling as needed with just daily life stressors. And then from
Mhm.
there, I shifted to more of an empowered journaling. So what I did, and I think this was one of the biggest pieces for me, was writing myself really empowering, self-compassionate, uplifting, like, "You've got this" type letters, and that's
Mhm.
something that I've never had in life is self-compassion and, like,
Mhm.
expecting the best. Like, I was a very negative person before this experience, worst case scenario thinking, would never support myself. So this was a new concept for me, and I think that was really huge during my own recovery.
Mhm.
And with the emotional piece of it, I also saw, I believe, your past colleague, Jenny Aaron. I saw her. Yes.
Yes. Okay,
Yes.
awesome. Yeah.
So
Love Jenny. I honestly don't know Jenny that well, but we did meet once and really hit it off. So
yes.
she's great.
Yeah, I love her, yes, and, I was in therapy all throughout my years of having chronic pain, but it was just different because she understood
Yes.
TMS.
Yes,
So
and it is so different. I mean, that is just such an important thing to highlight for people who are struggling with chronic pain. Working with a therapist like myself or a coach like Emily who gets this stuff really is it just is different. Like
yeah,
it's very different.
yeah,
But yes, go ahead.
absolutely, yes. So she helped me with working through a few past things as well. And she also helped me identify patterns that I needed to focus on, which one of the main ones was self criticism. So she would call me out whenever I would say something and we would redirect that thought. But that was
That's
extremely
helpful.
helpful. And
Mhm.
then from there, after I kind of had the emotional things going, I started with challenging the things that I was once terrified of and building my life, expanding my world again. So,
Mhm.
again, I created a list of all the things that I was afraid of, all the things that I was limiting myself in, I was avoiding, and one by one, I went down that list and conquered each and every thing on it. And there was like 30 different things. It was like sitting without a cushion because I brought this huge hefty cushion everywhere with me. So sitting without
Yeah.
that, walking for more than a block. Laying down without a pillow in between my legs, certain foods, sitting for longer than 20 minutes. Sitting was a big thing for me. That was one of the main avoidances that I had was sitting. And so one by one, I gradually exposed myself to those things again. And I would visualize beforehand, celebrate after, even if symptoms were there, celebrating that I did it because
Mhm.
that's better than what I was doing before.
Good for you.
So
I mean, I really love celebrate after even if symptoms came up
yeah,
because you did it. That's important.
yeah.
I hope people listening are taking that in. That's important. I'm taking that in. I'm like, that's a good one.
Yes.
That's a
I
good
was
one.
really, like, almost stubborn about it. Just,
Mm.
like, I can do this. I've got this. I don't care if that is there. I know that there's nothing
Mhm.
structurally wrong in there, and that is just my brain. So,
Yeah.
conquered all those fears, got to a place of no limitation again, and that's kind of like my first layer of healing, I would call it. I went, like,
Okay.
months without symptoms, and then they came
Okay.
back. So
Okay. Okay, before we get to that, let's with layer 1, I think it's good for us to drill down on, you're saying that, like, you did a lot of emotional expression,
Mhm.
and then you moved into a place of, like, a different kind of emotional work, which I think is very important because I think there's a lot of I think people certainly, like, who follow the journal speak method, that is so helpful, and, saying positive things to yourself isn't necessarily part of that, but that is so helpful too. So, will you just say a little bit about like what that was like for you and how you feel that that helped you?
Yeah, for me, just writing myself these really compassionate letters of, I would start out with things like everything that you did prior was not your fault. You were just trying to find
Yeah,
the solution. Like really
yeah.
compassionate things. I hear a lot of people blame themselves for, all the money they spent in the medical system, all the years that they were afraid of their bodies, and that made it persist. They really get down on themselves, but really functioning from that place of I was just trying to survive. I didn't know any better. Now I do, and now I can lead myself forward. So I would get really empowered of like, you can do this, you've got this, even if it was something that I was like one of the limiting things that I was getting back to doing again. You can do this, Emily. This is something that you used to do all the time. This
Mhm.
has nothing to do with your body. It's just your mind. You've got this. And really pulling myself out in the hard moments over and over again. And just, yeah, again, it's like a combination of stubbornness, empowerment, and just building of confidence, which is something I really never had before either was confidence. So that was a new concept to me as well. But that just built the more that I practiced it.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's beautiful. And I want to say to people listening that the idea behind the emotional work when it comes to chronic pain is emotional safety. And for so many of us, we repress our way more than we are aware of. So journaling, going to therapy, getting the emotions out, bringing the emotions up and out is so important in terms of emotional safety. And it's not the only thing because many of us also are the types like, myself included, and certainly like Emily is saying, many of us are the types who, are not nice to ourselves, and maybe we come by that honestly, but we're not nice to ourselves. So it's a practice, and it emotional safety comes in teaching your brain and nervous system emotional safety comes in the form of bringing your repressed emotions up and out rather than down and in. That's language from emotional awareness and expression therapy. They use that up and out versus down and in. I love that. It's like so easy and simple. So emotional safety is bringing your emotions up and out. And it's also being kind to yourself, knowing who you are and being kind to you. I mean, it's huge. It's huge. And it is not the same as, saying like I hate myself and getting that emotion out is good, but getting lost in I hate myself, I hate myself, I hate myself is not emotional safety. The goal is emotional safety. So I'm glad you're really bringing that up, and I want to underline that. But anything else you would want to say about that, or should we get on to step 2 of
Yeah,
recovery?
just one more thing on the emotional piece. I think that another thing that was big for me was acknowledging what I was feeling in those moments of the daily stressors after I had worked through the trauma and everything. Acknowledging that I'm feeling angry about something, or I'm feeling sad, or even guilty about something, and that's okay, and allowing whatever emotions were there to come up and actually allow them to be there without resistance. If I felt like crying, I would cry. That was a huge thing for me before, pushing down my emotions, like swallowing that, feeling it in my throat, not crying, even though what's the harm of crying, So
Right. Right.
really
Right.
letting everything out that I felt was a big piece of it too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
So part two. Um, So everything started coming back again. It kind of turned into a reoccurring theme of one thing after another for a while. And I figured out the one thing that I was missing was allowing the sensations. I still felt I had less fear around them for sure, but I still felt resistance around them when they came up. So a little bit of like, oh, I need to fix this as quickly as possible with TMS tools. I need this to go quickly. So allowing was really the final chapter for me and it brought me to full resolution. So not having a reaction to the symptoms, knowing what they are, and trusting that it's just sending me a message. So, the way that I liked to do it, this took off the fear for me, was I would see my symptoms as a message from my inner child. So, I have a picture of myself as a child up on my mirror over here. So, I would look at her, and in the high fear, high symptom moments, I would talk to her and I would say things like, I hear you. Thank you for communicating with me. What you have to say matters. I'm proud of you. I'm protecting you. You don't have to protect me. So, all of these things that gave her safety and reassurance that she's okay and she's safe and support and love. So, I felt that that was extremely helpful for myself as well as looking at the symptoms in that way. And that always just took the edge off. And once I repetitively practiced that, it just eventually there was no resistance to the symptoms anymore. So
Mhm.
that and I got extra stubborn. So if something did come up, let's say it was foot pain, I would say, okay, brain, I know what that is. I'm going to go intentionally go for a walk until it doesn't hurt anymore.
Mm.
And before I would have gotten off my feet, laid down, refused to walk. So
Mhm.
showing my brain that I am okay. And so, of course, this grew with confidence. And this was later on in my journey. So it took me a while to get here. But I would get on that treadmill or I would go outside and I would just walk and it would stop within minutes. And same for like sitting or wherever the symptoms were. I would intentionally do something to show my brain that I'm okay. So I think that was a huge piece for me as well. Just a little bit of stubbornness in there.
Mhm. Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. And, let's bring that up to today. Like, how are you doing now?
Great. Basically, I just feel free in every area of my life. I don't experience pain or symptoms. I don't have fear or hypervigilance around my body anymore. I can do whatever I want to do without any limitations. And I think overall, the biggest thing is that I like myself for who I am for probably the first time in my entire life. So I think that's been the biggest thing overall. But of course, the no pain and symptoms is great.
Right,
Yeah.
and they
So
always go hand in hand.
yes.
I mean, it's just like the number of recovery stories that are that, like that they always go hand in hand.
Exactly.
Um, I've been thinking one of the episodes that I'm planning on doing someday is, I don't, like, I'm not here for transformation, or I'm not here for personal transformation, I just want the pain to go away,
Yeah.
and I don't know what you think about that, but
Yep.
I think it's like, it's not that's not how it works.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, they do go hand in
Yeah,
hand, 100%.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, looking back at when the pain and symptoms started for me, back in 2020, I had a lot of things going on. I was finishing my psychology degree. I was planning my wedding. My dad was going through cancer treatment. I was also at a job with a coworker. We basically shared a cubicle. But I was at
Wow.
a job with this coworker who was very judgmental of me and did not like the fact that I don't have children.
Oh,
So,
jeez.
yeah, that was an everyday thing of making comments about not having children, and I was just consistently swallowing what I wanted to say to her. I just felt my body tense all day long because I was trying to, like, professionally respond to her in this workplace, in this open office with a bunch of other people in it listening, so
Oh gosh, that's
so yes,
so
and,
bad.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, so, like, the typical TMSer, I was trying to just kind of soften what I was saying, so I would say things like, "Right now I'm just focusing on planning my wedding and getting married, maybe one day we'll want kids, maybe we won't," and, she didn't like that answer. So I should have just said, "You know what? Like, I don't have the calling to have children." Again, maybe someday, but not I just don't have the calling, so that's enough conversation around it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's it. I mean, it's such a perfect example of like a before and after to think of like before you did all of this deep mind body
Mhm.
work. I can hear in what you're saying. It sounds like you didn't feel the confidence to just like
Yeah.
say what you really felt
Yep.
and say what you really wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and now what a change.
Yeah, because even with people who I didn't like this coworker, I still felt afraid of rejection. So,
Oh, I
yeah,
totally am the same.
yeah. I don't like you, but I
Something
want
I'm
you to
still
like
working
me.
on. Right. Right.
So anyways, of course, the pandemic too. So, like,
Yeah.
a lot of things going on. And emotionally, I know we've already talked about some of this, but just a lifetime of people pleasing, perfectionism, very criticizing of myself, not speaking up for myself, not aligning with my values, pushing down my emotions, that really deep fear of rejection. I was just constantly worried what other people were thinking about me. And then, of course, once the symptoms started, I was terrified of them and terrified of life and terrified of daily movements and my future and the medical system that I lived in and all the medical trauma that I went through. So, yeah, everything, all that played in all together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And anything else that you want to say? Like, certainly the next thing. Let's get to like advice you have and the
Yeah.
stuck points that you see people get into. But before we get to that, anything else that you want to say about your journey specifically?
No, overall, I think that's everything. So, yeah, love to dive
Okay.
into the advice that I have. I have quite a bit of that.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. All
Great.
right, let's do it.
Okay.
Wherever you want to start.
Okay. So, first thing is get off the fence and decide that this applies to you and that you can heal. I
Thank
see.
you. I
Yeah.
hope some of my clients are listening
Yeah.
to
Right.
this.
Yes. Okay. Second thing.
Yeah, but
Well, I
let's
have a
stick with
whole
that for a
list.
minute because that's so important. I'm like, get off the fence,
Yeah.
get off the
Yeah,
fence.
I see a lot of people
Eh
really hung up on this of
yeah,
understand TMS, believing that people can heal from it, but just staying on the fence themselves.
yeah, yeah. And will you just paint a picture of what that looks like, just so people who are listening can see, like, what you mean by staying on the fence?
Yeah, so thinking your case is different than everybody else's. Maybe you have a more severe case of TMS than everybody else out there. You're more mentally unwell or what I've had people
Yeah.
say that to me. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Same.
yeah, believing that something is still structurally wrong, thinking that it's mind body, but every once in a while, maybe I should go back to the doctor and check that for the 15th time, and thinking it's still structural in some way, maybe still doing structural treatments, um, while also implementing the mind body work. So you're kind of sending a mixed message. And yeah, I think just thinking that other people can heal, but you yourself, maybe you can't. Maybe you're special. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the holding out hope that your continued structural treatments will help you while you're also doing mind body stuff, um, that's a hard one.
yeah.
That is a hard one. But I love what you're saying is like, yeah, get off the fence,
Mhm.
like, get off the fence.
Yes.
But okay, great, great. What else you got for
Yes,
us?
engage in life again and start living as the healed version of you before the symptoms go.
Hmm.
Because I
Yeah.
think people get that mixed up as well, where they wait to live their life until they feel better, and
Mhm.
that doesn't come because you have to take action and actually start showing your brain that you're safe before the symptoms shift. So, that's
Yes,
important.
yes, I just wanna say 100% agree with that. I've had I mean, my pain in my hip is my still lingering symptom imperatives that's not fully, resolved yet, and I have done so many things, exercises, stretches, walking, running, so many things that I never would have done if I didn't know about TMS work and didn't know about neuroplasticity. Some resources, like, I think a lot of Dr. Sarno's books, and it's hard to remember exactly what comes from where, but I know there are some resources that say like once the pain is gone or once the pain is almost gone, re-engage in life. And my personal life has not been like that. Journey has not, like, that order has not been my journey.
Right.
And I'm glad you're saying, like, letting people hear that, like, start living your life. There's nothing wrong with your body. Like,
Right.
you can do it. You
Yep.
can do it.
Exactly. Yeah, and of course, challenging this kind of goes hand in hand, but challenging your past limitations, your beliefs, your habits, and just really functioning from that place of empowerment or I've got this energy. Be your biggest supporter, your biggest cheerleader, your biggest hype person. Pick yourself up and lead yourself over and over and over again, especially on the hard days.
Mm,
It's one of the biggest pieces
beautiful.
of advice. That's probably the
Beautiful.
most, yeah, most helpful thing for me. And focusing on your response to the symptoms too. That kind of also plays in.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. Let's go back to be your biggest cheerleader. Paint that picture for us because that's such good advice. And um, most of us TMS personalities are not our biggest cheerleader
Yes,
because we're
and
so
yeah,
focused on criticizing ourselves and pleasing others and trying to be
I
quote
know.
unquote perfect. So paint that picture for us. Like, what does that look like for you? What does that look like for clients you work with?
Yeah, and again, I was not this person before I came into this journey, so this was very foreign to me, supporting myself and, like, picking myself up. So, again, the letter writing was huge for me. Sometimes I'd look at myself in the mirror and I'd just say things like, "You're healing, you've got this, you're going to heal. This is just your brain trying to get your attention. There's nothing wrong with your body. You can do this." Just really focusing hard on that support. What I would want other people to say to me, I said to myself because I know that it's just more impactful when you're saying these things to yourself rather than getting reassurance from external sources on it. So, yeah, I went all in on that. And it
Cool.
became more natural as I went on. In the beginning, of course, that was foreign. So I'm like, I'm writing this letter and it feels weird. It feels weird to be nice
Yeah.
to myself.
Right.
But
Right.
with repetition, it just became natural and I guess my new norm. So,
Yeah. 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 Beautiful. And yeah. Yeah. You're also talking about responding to the symptoms differently. Say more about that.
yes, responding to them with that allowing. Again, the inner child technique was huge for me, seeing them as a message from her and responding to her with love and reassurance and compassion. And I think another thing that goes along with that too is just normalizing flare ups. It is part of the process. And each flare up that you have or intensifying of symptoms, that is an opportunity to practice responding differently. And if we did not have those opportunities, we would never heal because there's no way we can go from terrified of our bodies and our symptoms to, oh, I don't care anymore. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
how I looked at it. It's every single one of them. Yes, it's frustrating. Yes, it's annoying to have flare-ups and, have progress and then go back, and then have progress and then go back again. But it's an opportunity to respond with that allowing. So, less resistance.
Yeah. Yeah. Now let me ask you this because when you're saying you treated your symptoms, like, one of the final steps was treating your symptoms as a message from your inner child. W- I think people get hung up on, like, kind of freaking out over, like, I gotta know what the message is. What is my inner
Yeah.
child telling me? What is it? What is it? What is it? So I want to throw that to you.
Yeah.
What do you do with that?
Yes, I will tell you that the harder that I looked into it, the more in depth I looked into it, the more complicated it got. I sat there and I tried to figure it out. I tried,
Mhm.
I was even at the point of what does skin symptoms mean specifically, like emotionally? That did
Oh,
not help me.
1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah, it did not help me.
Right elbow versus left elbow. What does
Yes,
that
yes,
mean?
exactly. I
Right.
mean, yeah, people get really hung up on finding answers, and I disconnected from finding the answer. I knew what it was. It was just my brain trying to get my attention. It knew that it could because I responded in that way of overanalyzing and trying to fix it and panicking about it every time. So until I stopped responding like that, I just knew that's why it was happening, and that's how I looked at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think that's so helpful to like, and I have had clients. This is actually something that I was recently talking about with Christina Sarno Horner, who I meet with every few weeks, and she like advises me. We were talking about exactly this, and she had the same answer that you have. She's just said it in a sort of different way. She was saying like, because I have a client who recently, who was in the place of what is it? Why? What is this symptom telling me? What I need to get to the bottom of this. What emotion am I repressing? Which is like, okay, there's nothing wrong with, looking into the unconscious, trying to make the unconscious conscious. That is a good thing to do. And the panic around and the frustration around, like, what is it? What is it? What is it? I don't know what it is. And then she really let that go and was just like, I feel so much calmer now. My symptom has calmed down a lot now. Wow, that was so helpful. And then she was like, but doesn't that sort of go against like the whole emotional side of like trying to deal with TMS through your emotions? Is the whole thing a farce? And I was kind of like, no, but I don't know how to explain why it's not. Christina, help me. And she, I think, very, very nicely put it together by saying like, making the unconscious conscious and engaging in that process will always be helpful to you.
Right.
Always. Not repressing your emotions will always be helpful to
Yep.
you. Trying desperately to understand everything and like exactly what's going on, that will not help you.
Yes.
So like continue making friends with your emotions, but like don't turn it into I don't know, like an obsessive,
Yes. An
scary
obsession, yeah.
hunt. Yeah, yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
I
yeah.
agree,
So,
yes.
I'm yes, I'm glad everybody's speaking the same language because
Yes.
that's a hard. I mean, it's so nuanced because, like, yeah, it's good to explore your emotions and it's good to question, like, what am I really feeling?
Yeah, yeah.
But if that turns into a new problem, then
Yep,
that's a new problem.
exactly, yep, I agree.
What else you got for us?
This kind of goes hand in hand with that. Don't overthink the process or get lost in researching endlessly, looking for missing pieces. Doesn't have to be complicated, but the amount of information out there confuses people. So, learn the basics and detach from the information intake online once you feel that you're ready and actually start applying what you learn. And if you want guidance, then work with a coach or a therapist.
Period. Stop with all the there must be one more thing that I need to
Yes,
learn. I
yes,
think that's great advice.
yes, the
You
online
already
space
know.
is loud.
Yeah, yeah, you already know. That's a lot of good stuff. Um, I wonder if you wanna say a little bit about, like, any of those any of the pieces of advice you've given to us, like, how you've applied it to yourself or how you've applied it with clients, so, so people can really, like, get it, you know?
Yeah, I basically yeah, I mean, I lived all of this. These are the things that I didn't go into like, having this list in front of me and knowing that these were the things to do, but these are the things that I found throughout my way of working through it myself, and now working with clients, I just see time and time again that these are just really impactful pieces, and without them it's a struggle. If we're on the fence, if we're not engaging in life and we're still avoiding things because we think our bodies are fragile deep down, if we're not challenging the things that have been holding us back, and if we're functioning from, a place of maybe victim mentality or, just feeling sorry for yourself or you're responding with panic, all of these things, honestly, the opposite of everything that I just listed are the biggest healing blocks.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think just going through it myself and then just watching it again and again with each clients that I work with, these are the main areas that really push people forward and move them towards healing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking of, for the person who's stuck in the place of like, what is it? What is my inner child telling me? What does this symptom mean? What is the emotion underneath this? To replace that, what is it energy with the energy, or like, what is my inner child telling me, to replace that question with just like the knowledge that this is my inner child.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have compassion for my inner child, and I'm going to have compassion for myself. It really, I mean, I like the way you're talking because it just makes it feel so simple.
Yeah, I mean, I have a very simple approach, I will tell you that. I try to make it as simple as possible. So,
Good.
yeah, that was how I looked at it. I didn't try to figure out what she was telling me. It was just she was talking to me, and I need to give her love and support right now, and that was it. Nothing
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, yeah, and right. There's a huge difference between my inner child is talking to me, and I have to figure out exactly what she's saying, versus my inner child is talking to me, and I have to give her support, love, and support, like
Mhm,
you just said. It's a
exactly.
huge difference, and it's so much easier.
Yes.
So much
Yes, it
easier.
is. It saves you a lot of time, a lot of thinking.
Yes, yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because the first piece of advice you gave, I think, is so important. Get off the fence. That is one that it's an early step,
Mhm.
and yet it is such a huge step, and taking that first step can, I think, oftentimes be the hardest. Um,
Yeah.
what advice do you have for people who are listening to this podcast so they get it, they
Mhm.
know that, like, mind body healing is possible, or at least they have the seed planted, like neuroplasticity, okay, TMS, maybe this applies to me,
Mhm.
and yet they're on the fence.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for someone in that boat?
Yeah, at some point you have to make the decision. If you have a long evidence list and maybe you've even gone to a mind body doctor and you've gotten confirmation, you've taken the quizzes online, the free quizzes that help you determine if it's mind body, if you can relate to everything that's being said in the books and the podcasts and the success stories, and you're seeing other people with the same symptoms recover, eventually you make the decision. That's what I had to do. That's what I help my clients with too, is they believe what's going on. They think that it's mind body. And now we decide that this 100% applies to you, that you are going to heal. You're already healing, and that this is going to work for you. And just functioning from that place, I see people just have better results when they function from that deep inner knowing of I've got this, I can do this, I know this applies to me, rather than sitting on the fence and second guessing every move that they make.
Yeah, you just have to make the decision.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, any other advice or wisdom that you want to give to people who are on this journey, people listening who are struggling with pain and symptoms? Any other pieces of advice that you want to give, or words of wisdom that you want to give?
Basically just keep going. There's gonna be hard days. There's gonna be days where you think you're back at square one, you're not.
Yes.
Every flare, every hard day is an opportunity to respond differently. So practice, 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 be repetitive with it, and you will heal.
Love it. Love it. Yes. Yes. Okay. And where can people find you if, say, they want to work with you? Also, I will put out a plug. Emily Larson puts up great Instagram content. So definitely give us your Instagram.
Thank you.
How can people find you?
Yes, I am most active on Instagram. My handle is painexplained_TMS. So yeah, you can find me there. You can send me a DM there. Love to chat with you.
Cool. And that will be in the show notes.
Okay.
And just tell us, what do you, in terms of coaching, like, what do you offer?
I have a program, so it is one-on-one. There is a little group aspect to it if you want, just a little community with other women who are working through the same journey, very supportive community, but the majority of the program is one-on-one. So it is a 6-month program. We work on all of the things that we just discussed here. So, yeah, basically, you have me by your side the entire way, guiding you as you lead yourself.
Awesome. That's great. Well, yes, for those who want to reach out, by all means, I think it's a great idea. It's the stuff you put out on Instagram is truly so fun to watch and to consume that content. Very,
Well,
very
thank
fun.
you.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. So fun.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. And for everybody listening, this has been Mind Body Medicine for Chronic Pain, and I will talk to you next week. If you're looking for a therapist, you found one, and you can decide. Does my vibe resonate with you? Therapy is an opportunity. Therapy is an opportunity to tune into you, to learn to feel more comfortable being yourself, to feel more comfortable with your emotions, and to feel more comfortable existing in the world in your body. Do you have difficulties in your life? Maybe it's chronic pain, maybe it's something else. Maybe you want to become a person who likes yourself. Do you want a therapist to help you? And would you like me to get to know you and to help you? That is actually an option. You can find me at SeanHershey.com or MindBodyMedicineForChronicPain.com. Both go to the same place, and if you're looking for me, I'd welcome a message from you. SeanHershey.com, MindBodyMedicineForChronicPain.com, and you can request a free consultation.